What up, y'all? What up, y'all? It's your boy Adam back again with another little recap from the Seahawks week 2 collapse against the Tennessee Titans, man. Oh, that game started out beautifully. I felt so good in the first half. I know y'all did too. Unless you're a Titans fan, you felt like shit. Then, everything flipped. Uh, so my takeaways from this game, man, first and foremost, man, Seahawks beat themselves with a lack of discipline in multiple ways, man. First and foremost, being with the penalties, man. You got to clean that shit up. They had 100 yards or maybe over in penalties. That's a free drive, man. That's 6 for free. 7 if you hit the kick. That's too much, man. And a lot of them weren't even the kind of penalties that you like to see where it's just from the heat of playing hard. You know what I mean? You just hit a motherfucker too hard or, might hit a little too high or you do a little accidental hold or whatever. There's some penalties of aggression that I really don't mind. It's the shit that's after the play. It's the stuff where you can't cut it off. Granted, these new points of emphasis on the taunting and this and that are pretty annoyingly enforced at a high rate. It's starting to make the game affect the game in a way that definitely is detrimental. I don't think it's gonna last, man. I think they're gonna change that pretty quick and get back to. I mean, they're probably gonna keep the rule, but I don't think they'll be as hair trigger with the pulling with the flags. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. But aside from that, man, like you got to clean that up. There's no excuse. There is no excuse for shooting yourself in the foot. There was times they would get critical stops. Granted, man, that one where they called Adams for coming in high. I think, he does have to know better. He had dudes square in his head, Granted, the game moves fast and all of that. That's one of the more unfortunate ones. I might would categorize that closer to playing hard, but that killed him. You know what I mean? That was a stop that turned into points for them. And, in this game, a game like this, I should say, where it came down to overtime and just one little mistake seals it. I mean, look at the impact of the missed extra point at the end. Not to disparage Jason Myers, that dude has been a machine with the field goal, so you can't ask for better from a kicker. But that's just one of those things where one play can make the difference. And those are going to happen. Especially since they moved that kick back. That's just something you expect now, or expect more. Not expect. You shouldn't expect that, but it happens at a way higher rate. But aside from that, I mean, the first half offense was clicking, hitting the deep ball. I think something clicked with Tennessee where they just had enough of getting pushed around because they had 6 straight quarters of just getting the business given to them, and they had to have a gut check. You can't play 8 straight poor quarters and think your season's going to go well. So I got to give props to them for figuring that out and hitting that mental switch and hitting that gut check and playing the way they did. They were playing hard, man. I can't. There was one, I can't remember the tight end's name, but he caught it and he hit the ground with his knee. Like it was a quick boom, boom, but he kept rumbling. That dude was going hard. I felt like at that moment that was one of those plays that become a catalyst for the whole team getting amped. And I feel like the Hawks, at that moment, I remember thinking the Hawks better match that energy because if they let them keep building this, they're going to start getting physically dominated. And you started seeing that in the second half, and they started hitting them with Derrick Henry. I mean, that attrition sets in when you got to hit a dude like that over and over. And when they start stepping up the physicality on the old line and everybody starts giving a little extra oomph every play, that's going to drain the batteries on that defense. And if you can't get off the field, or in a lot of instances, if you keep yourself on the field when you should be getting off, that battery's just going to keep draining. After a while, I know this from playing defense back in my day. I never played in the NFL. I played in college, though. Played enough football in my life to know that if you can't get off the field, especially on consecutive drives, you keep going and the offense can't sustain anything to get you some rest, you're just going to gas. And you only get 53 in the NFL. You know what I mean? That's barely too deep at every position. You know what I mean? With some specialists. So that's hard, man. You only got so many bodies you can throw on the field, and you saw it. You saw Derrick Henry start breaking off these long runs. You saw him start, cats like Bobby Wagner would miss a tackle here and there. You know what I mean? Like it's not. He had 20-some tackles. You know what I mean? Nothing to disparage that guy. That guy, if anybody had a winning effort, it was him. You know what I mean? And that's nothing new for Bobby. He's one of the GOATs. But even the greats can only handle tackling somebody like that over and over and over and over without rest. You know what I mean? It's just like trying to cover somebody for more than 4 or 5 seconds. You can't do it no matter who it is. Practice squad is going to beat prime time. You know what I mean? Like prime time will get beat if he has to cover for too long. It doesn't matter. But yeah, I saw a lot of that lack of discipline carried over to missing assignments. You know what I mean? It was just they had their way in the second half marching down the field. And then I don't know what happened with that drive in overtime, man, for the Seahawks when they got the ball back. I don't know. There was a lack of all that creativity I saw, and the layering kind of went out the window. I know they're getting used. It's a new offensive system. Shane Waldron's new to being an offensive coordinator. You know what I mean? So I'm not. This stuff's probably going to happen. Hopefully, it's out of their system by now. But I don't know what happened in overtime, man. Those passes weren't even close. I feel like they were playing in more of a late fourth quarter mode as opposed to things being reset in overtime, where you can kind of put together more, I don't want to say traditional, conventional drive, where you could mix in your runs, your passes, your play actions, your deceptions and all that, set some things up. But they just went 3 and out with some missed passes. And after that, they gave terrible field position they gave up terrible field position to Tennessee. They needed a yard to get in field goal range. And, the writing's on the wall after that. And then you just let them get as close as they did, and that's a wrap. So at the end of the day, what I take away from this game is the Seahawks are a talented team. You saw in the first half what they're capable of. That's more true to the Seahawks. But you also saw how easily they can beat themselves. So they need to get that under control. It's early enough to where they can. And I believe they will. We got, some veterans on this team that can help steer that. We got veteran coaching staff. There's a standard in place, But Seahawks have also traditionally been a high penalty team when they're really good. So I like the aggression. I just feel like you got to be more tactful about it. And once that whistle blows, man, you got to stop with the extracurriculars. I know it's hard. I know you in an intense, the heat of the battle is hard, but that's the difference between champions and people who ain't making it even to the dance. So that's what I got this week, man. Hopefully, Russ always plays well. You know what I mean? The Seahawks offense to me I'm calling them the bomb squad because they're going to be hitting them bombs all year. We get the running backs going. You know what I mean? We get some sustained drives like we need to. So that's the downside of bombs too. They have some quick defense right back on the field. There is two edges to that sword. There is 2 edges to that. So. This is something we have to deal with. Hopefully, we can get a rotation set on defense, and this is just a one-off, man. Hopefully, this is something they learn from because we cannot be having collapse like this. You cannot. There's no margin for error like that in the NFC West. Not this NFC West. Hell no. This is almost like college, man. That's your one loss of stupidity you can get up. I know teams are going to lose more than one game, but to lose one because of your own lack of discipline, you might already have one too many of those losses, Seahawks. So hopefully they get it together and it's a tight shit from here on. And I have faith in Pete Carroll. I have faith that they're going to clean it up. You know what I mean? You got to get punched in your mouth sometimes and to realize your own shit. It happened in Tennessee last week. Look at their effort last week versus this week. So props to the Titans for coming back. Hopefully the Seahawks tighten it up and we'll be back soon with another one. All right, y'all. It's your boy Adam.